recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles. This is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. As far as moments go, this one isn't so bad. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Jim.
Welcome to issue number 320 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Every time we record, we talk about comic books. On this week's show, we are going to have two club discussions as we talk about the further issues of Batman Full Moon with issue number 3 and Minor Arcana issue number 3. And then we're going to do some weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth, talk about the books that we've been reading, whether they're new, whether they're old. We're going to talk about them there. And that will be the lineup for the show. Usually I save this little moment for the end, but the show is getting close, so I wanted to do a quick promotion here for Milwaukee Comic-Con, Saturday, February 22nd, 2025, from 10 to 5. Go to mcconventions.com for info. Myself and David will be there for Crimson Cowl Media, selling our original comic books, selling art and prints and all of that stuff. So come down to Milwaukee Comic-Con. That's our favorite place to be when we go out on the Mighty Con circuit. So that show will be coming up very shortly by the time this episode is released. So I want to get that little plug up front. And now let's jump into the club discussion. First up is going to be Batman Full Moon issue number 3. The streets of Gotham run red. Despite Zatanna's warnings, nothing could have prepared Batman for the power he was truly up against under the light of the moon, far greater and wilder than he's ever encountered before. And when that very same power doesn't just burrow its way into Batman's soul, but consumes him completely, the streets of Gotham will run red with the blood of Beast. This comic is done by Rodney Barnes, Stevan Subic, and Russ Wooten. All right, this is the penultimate issue. I believe this is a 4-issue miniseries of Batman Full Moon. And we're just going to dive right into it. We ended the last issue having Batman turn into a werewolf and squaring up against our character that's been a werewolf at the beginning of this series. It's the premise of this whole book. And we ended with them getting ready to fight. We have a little moment of a little backstory before we get into that fight, but a good portion of this story is a lot of action. And between our Beast, bringing in Man-Bat into the fray as well, and just kind of being one of the bigger action pieces of this miniseries so far. To talk about what we thought, Kirby, would you like to kick it off for us for Batman Full Moon issue number 3?
Yeah, I like this one. This one had lots of action and stuff. I like how in the beginning you get Constantine and Zatanna basically explaining the Beast from our past and what they were hunting and back in the day, and then it jumping over to the whole battle with Batwolf and the other Lycan. I still don't get how everybody else can lose all their clothes, but the Batwolf keeps the bat shirt on and the bat cape, and people are still trying to figure out where Batman is. It's like, come on. Didn't they all find out that Batman got scraped in the beginning? I assume Gordon and all of them knew that.
Well, it's the same way that Superman can hide wearing a pair of glasses.
Yeah, exactly. And it was fun with all the battle action going on in here, but the thing I liked the most out of it was during the battle, you see, I can't remember who it was that said it, but right in this image, they say this is better than pro wrestling. San Martino against superstar Billy Graham at the Garden in the 70s. This is a shame. That was my favorite panel there. But yeah, this was great. I was wondering if this was the penultimate just because the way it's ended with the continuation and stuff, I was thinking maybe it was gonna come out into a volume 2 or something because I thought it was 3 books. But yeah, that I'm glad to know it's 4.
Yep. According to previewsworld.com, whereas I get my synopsises, that recording was out of 4 issues, at least at the time that we're talking.
Yep.
Cool. Katie, thoughts on Batman Full Moon number 3?
Sure. So this issue was just okay for me. I've said it a couple times reviewing this book. I don't really like Constantine, and again, that was my biggest issue with this book, is how is someone who manages to be so self-righteous and think they're so gosh dang smart, so immature, and just downright stupid. Sorry, that's not very nice. I think Zatanna would have been a much better narrator. Clearly, it seems like she's very powerful to the point that she's almost underused in this book. I feel like she would have been a better narrator, and that would highlight her skills and her powers better in a way that I think is more meaningful and gives better character development, rather than being like, oh yeah, the whole world is shit and evil, and somehow this shit and evil is worse than all the other shit and evil. And weird penis jokes while they're like fighting a werewolf. I'm like, dude, are you 14? Did I go back to middle school? Come on. Also, in light of all the things that Neil Gaiman has been accused of, and as far as I know, has not yet denied, that felt really icky, knowing the association between that author and that character. That was just kind of weird, and to me, didn't add anything. Other than that, I really liked this story. I think that I'd also think that Dr. Langstrom should have had a larger part in this story. And I liked the sympathy that the nun had for the vampire named Christian. And I almost feel like, why follow this guy to Romania? Leave him alone. I liked that. And then I also liked the interplay between her and the kid from the youth center, where he's like, well, what do you want me to do? Just pray and be positive? And she's like, oh yeah. And he's like, are you kidding me? You were just attacked by a werewolf. And she says, my faith is stronger than ever, which is, it is both admirable, and also I get what that kid is saying. I'm like, you are a better person than I am, because that would make me reevaluate absolutely everything.
She lost.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought that was really good, and great character growth and dynamics, and showing both a very idealized response to how we should react when something bad happens, and also the very real world response, which is to be, quite shocked and in fact even angry and scared. I'm looking forward to book 4. I hope they have a good resolution for it. But yeah, I would put this solidly in the okay column, 6 out of 10, and that's my review.
Cool. Jim, thoughts?
I would go a little higher than a 6. I'd go probably 8. 7.5, 8, but it was a lot better than the last issue. The action really picked up, really moved the story along better. I liked the opening with the voice of Constantine narrating, because to me it captured more of the traditional Constantine voice rather than what we heard a little bit in the first or second book. And I think maybe that's because we didn't see Constantine as much, we just heard him, and the drawings of Constantine as an older man just kind of bothered me, and I can see how that would lead into Katie's, where I always see Constantine as he was originally made as a 20-something punk scene, basically, a kid. He was an adult juvenile delinquent. And magically, yes, he is. Zatanna has always been more powerful than he is. He's just had the contacts with the despicable characters from hell to back him up. So
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah,
I agree with you.
He has not been a good character. He's just been on the side of good for the most part.
That's definitely fair. Yeah.
But,
I see where you're going with that. And I agree. The fact that they drew him like he's like 60 years old, now he's a boomer delinquent. So yeah, that was an odd design choice on their part.
But
no, I appreciate that clarification.
I did enjoy the voice coming through. I could hear it. Like I would have in the old comics 20 years ago or 20, 30, even. But yeah, so that was good. I'm a little concerned that they're relocating to Romania. That makes, not concerned that way. Because if you're trying to wrap this up in one more issue, relocating the scene seems like that's a bad thing to do. Because then how are you going to give the new scene, the new background justice then?
Guess we'll find out. I'll jump into mine here. Really love the action. I still love the tone of all this, and just the big fights and the highlights of the moon, and just how everything looks, and just a lot of everything that I expected it to be after how we ended with issue number 2. I don't think I've ever read anything where I've liked Constantine, so anytime I read his stuff, I just brush past it real quick because unless he's been in like Tiny Titans or something, which I don't remember. I don't know if there's ever been an iteration that I've cared for the character too much, but it was cool seeing Man-Bat being thrown into this. Also doubling down with what Kirby said just about how them, not knowing where Batman is and all that stuff. So, putting some of that aside, still just I was here for all the big bloody fights and the scratches and the growls and all that kind of stuff. And I don't have too much else to say. I'm curious to see what Jim was saying there with having, relocating our story with one issue to go, and we'll find out. Has it been out yet? Does it? Because we're a little behind on some of these. Has anyone read these? I'm assuming not. Then if Jim hasn't.
I haven't got my copy yet, but I'm still waiting.
Let me take a look at.
Unless Jim's a good act.
It has not downloaded yet from my app, so.
Okay. I wasn't sure if Jim was just putting out a good act of staying in the moment, staying in issue 3, and not giving anything away for the 4th. But so yeah.
Sometimes I just try to wait.
Any other thoughts that anyone needed?
Yeah. You brought up Man-Bat again, and it was like, that was cool to see him. And then it brought back kind of what we were talking about last time. If Batman is infected, is he Batman Bat or Batman Wolf or Wolfman Bat? So you would have Wolfman Bat and Wolf Batman if Kirk Langstrom gets infected. Now you got to remember which one is which.
Yeah, and I like the little moment with Alfred, with Bruce waking up, chained to the medical bed or whatever, and I just like Bruce just being like, "No, you did the right thing." Yeah, that's.
And I did double check; it is not out yet.
Okay.
I like your cover there, Anthony, but I was curious how come you jumped off the glow in the darks? Didn't you get the first 2 glow in the dark?
It might just be a lack of attention when clicking on the ordering. So, it's pretty much
That
just
cool,
new issue,
That's
and maybe it's possible that the image might not even been up on the order site or something. But but this
I do like that cover.
This is a Francesco variant of sorts. So I don't know what the. Do you have the glow in the dark with you?
Yeah.
So I can get because did Francavilla do those as well, or is he, okay? Okay.
Oh, that is what happened.
Yep.
Kirby's is what appears on the digital image, except the digital does not glow in the dark.
You just have to turn the brightness up a little bit. So
it's Steven Subic does this cover.
Okay. So my guess is that in the moment I probably forgot about the glow in the dark, and I saw this Francavilla one. So Francavilla won out over the glow in the dark. But
yeah, I don't blame you.
Both great covers. A lot of great to choose from. All right, so that will do it for Batman Full Moon number 3. One more issue to go. So it feels good to be caught up on that. So when that comes out, we can talk about it in a more current manner. Something that we are still trying to catch up on here. I think we'll do some more issues at the next recording. Minor Arcana, issue number 3. In the conclusion to the mystifying first chapter of the new original series from Jeff Lemire, Teresa is worse for wear after her emotional encounter and first journey into the unseen world. Intoxicated on spirits, she channels her frustration in the front yard of an old ex where the embers of a love lost are still painful. Unexpectedly, it's where she'll meet a fellow traveler of the unseen, but it's not who she'd expect. This comic is done by Jeff Lemire and Steve Wands. As the synopsis reminded me, this is saying it's the conclusion to the first chapter. Once we get to because as we mention each time, that this is part of like a giant hardcover series epic that's going to be released across time. But with the Book of Wands here, I don't know if we are. Is this like the end of this? Is this just a chapter in the Book of Wands, or are we? I'm not sure where we're at. So when we move on from the series, we most likely won't cover all of it as a club discussion because of how epic it's getting. We'll kind of revisit it from time to time. But anyways, just to kind of catch us up with Minor Arcana here. This we finally get some backstory on the possible girlfriend that we saw in one of the previous issues. Now we have the confirmation of their relationship. And so we get that drama thrown into. There's a moment in here that since we've been reading this for a couple months and taking a little longer to read it, I kind of laughed a little bit when I found out that it was this was all the first day yet, from when she came back into town. Because there's a moment where she's like, "Oh, it's been like a hell of a day" or something like that, so I thought it was kind of funny being like, "Oh yeah, it's been months for us, but it's been just one day back in town and all of this stuff has happened." But yeah, really diving deep into that relationship and, getting to find out what was going on and seeing where her ex had moved on to a new life and how that plays into this issue. Her kind of coming to terms with what she thought her mom was doing, scamming people out through these tarot readings and such, and having her own little moment of with the customer that she helps and ultimately doesn't help in that last issue of not giving her the full information. So there's a lot of stuff that gets revealed in this issue that's kind of a quick overview mixed in with some of my thoughts. But Jim, do you want to start us off with Minor Arcana number 3?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this story. I like the flashback with her girlfriend, meeting the girlfriend now, and the way the girlfriend's current husband reacted and talked to her. And it's like, basically, he's a cop, so he said, "Okay, you lost, you're done. Don't bother her anymore," or in translation, or I'm going to ride you out of town kind of thing. It's like
basically being very kind with the car ride and taking her back home and but then getting very real at the end, being like, "Well, you guys went through something, but yeah, don't do this again."
Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to put up with it. Yeah. So that was, that kind of like shook her, and that really got her to even though she fell off the wagon and went on this bender, she's kind of recovered her senses now, and in a way of speaking, and she is realizing that she did something wrong and she needs to fix it. So her going and approaching Jean after the way she left things last time, I liked the way she's accepting and starting to react to her powers appropriately. Makes me like the character a little bit better.
Yeah, from how she started of the first issue leading into this at the end of her first day, and her kind of coming to those realizations and recognizing and being nice to the old classmate that works at the little diner there, who she was very rude with at the beginning of this story, and then now is kind of telling her story and kind of.
And you mentioned that it was the Book of Wands. The book issue 4 is out, and I haven't read it yet, okay. But it is subtitled The Star. So I'm wondering if they are going from the Book of Wands to the Book of Pentacles.
So in the lineup here for their very courageous, not courageous. I can't think of the word. They're knowing that they're going to do all these giant deluxe hardcovers.
Ambitious?
Yeah, ambitious. The Book of Swords is the one that's listed. So I'm
Okay.
wondering if this is still maybe just a chapter of the first book, I guess. So if anything, maybe we'll cover like the Book of Wands. I guess we'll find out as we read it, but just for the sake of, we'll be covering this for years otherwise. So typically we'll, make some exceptions here and there, but I'm going to keep reading it regardless. But
Well, there's only 15 cards in each suit, so
okay.
times 4 suits, so we got a few issues to go.
Of this initial
Of a tarot deck, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know any of that stuff. That's why you're here. So, jump over to Katie. Thoughts on this issue?
Yes, I like this one a lot. This was such a fantastic issue for character development and growth. Even though it's called Minor Arcana, I think a very strong theme is finding yourself as an adult versus when you were a kid, as well as like family dynamics and being willing to admit when you're wrong. I really like this because we got a lot of explanation for why this character seems so bitter and jaded and all the troubles that she is going through. And I went from being really frustrated with her to being like, what, you just like drunkenly showed up at someone's house in 4 a.m. to like babble at them, to yeah, right. I'm like, I don't know what any of this accomplished, but I'm glad it helped you. To actually seeing her realize like, hey, there is more going on than what she understands, and that she has experienced something real. I thought the validation she got from the waitress and the police officer, where they're like, yeah, I believe there could be things out there we don't know about, was actually very kind-hearted and sweet, and kind of flipped the idea that these townspeople were really awful to her and that's why she was awful to them. It seems like they're at least now willing to be decent to her. And I thought it was super nice when she went to that elderly lady Jean's house and told her, I messed up. I actually did see something, and this is the message I had from your husband. And how Jean just gives her this big hug and is like, thank you so much. And I felt like the emotions that she experienced and that we experienced as a reader really just drew me in and made me like this character more. And now it seems like, she's had a dark night of the soul, but now she's had a turning point. And yeah, hopefully things get better for her and we're going to get deeper into this magic stuff. But I really liked this one a lot. This was a great character issue. Well done. That's my review.
Agreed. Yeah, I keep repeating myself when I just talk about how I love the world that Jeff Lemire creates with his creator-owned stuff, and just the, a lot of his characters and his drawing style. All, he has a very specific style, and every time you see his characters, he doesn't stray away from that, which I think is a good thing. Just because I know that whenever he comes out with a book that he does writing and art chores for, that I just know I'm going to love it, just because I love the way he portrays emotion, and a lot of his characters, a lot of his worlds, a lot of the mood of his books are very much what we're seeing in Minor Arcana here. And I just really love the tone, because I think his art style fits the mood that he sets up in these worlds, and just brings a lot of good emotion and great character work, like Katie was talking about. And yeah, this was an excellent issue. Yeah, I'm real curious to keep following this journey here, and especially her after getting through this very first day, and seeing her make as much accomplishments as she did, based on how she showed up back in town, and now how she's gonna go forward. Jim, what you got here?
I have the Star card, which is the subtitle for the next series.
Okay, yeah.
The next chapter. And The Fool was the subtitle for this first three art book, and this
Okay.
is the cool card.
Very nice. People, if you are audio listeners of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club, this is your reminder to open up a free YouTube account and subscribe to Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on YouTube for all the visuals that we show throughout the episode. Yeah, any other thoughts people want to tack on there? Nope. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think 5 issues might be out based on my last shipment here. So we're going to try to play some catch up in. We're going to do another recording next week, so that way we can try to get caught back up here, and that will do it for Minor Arcana issue number 3. Quick reminders for upcoming books, future issues of Minor Arcana for this first book: Batman Full Moon number 4, the finale. What if Mickey and Friends became the Fantastic Four one-shot? What if Mickey and Friends became the Avengers one-shot? And the Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon number 1, which I think got pushed back, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was meant for January, and then I think I saw a date now that it was pushed back like a couple months or something. So, sure.
Yeah, I was curious because I haven't seen any of the other ones come out yet, and there's supposed to be a few.
Yeah, I was flipping through my collection, wondering if the issue got lost somewhere, and then I looked. I'm like, well, I never scanned an issue yet. So, but I think there must have been a pushback on it, and whether or not it has anything to do with getting closer to the Fantastic Four movie, if that has anything, or it might just simply be a creative delay or something. But anyways, so yeah, Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon. We'll keep reminding you for a couple months yet until that comes out. That is going to be it for the club discussion, but we're going to jump over to the weekly reviews. Welcome to the weekly reviews. I'm kicking it off with The Lucky Devils number 1. Good Omens meets curse words in this new series from the duo behind smash hit 8 Billion Genies. The Lucky Devils is a tale of 2 rebellious demons who decide to start a revolution in hell, and the 2 ordinary 20-something humans they're going to manipulate to do it. A cheeky, satirical look at good and evil, The Lucky Devils explores Faustian bargains and temptation in a rip-roaring, hilarious new way. This book is done by Charles Soule, Ryan Brown, and Christopher Crank. Ryan Brown of God Hates Astronauts, Charles Soule and Ryan Brown of Curse Words, that same creative team for 8 Billion Genies. Them coming in with this brand new mini-series, I believe this is 9 issues, The Lucky Devils. I've been on the Ryan Brown train and even the Charles Soule train, for quite some time, and them working together is just it's a guarantee for me. Where anytime they're working on something, I'm picking it up. They could do a Constantine book, and I'm going to buy it if those two do it. We heard how I thought of Constantine earlier, so this is the Lucky Devils. This is another fantastic start to a new series. Gives me a lot of vibes of 8 Billion Genies as far as kind of the giant world that they're building. Part of me was kind of wondering, like, okay, is this some kind of like secret backdoor spin-off pilot in the 8 Billion Genies world? Maybe in the long run it could be, because it does have some kind of those kind of big world vibes. But this story kicks off following 2 main characters. We have 2 human characters who are one's a professor and another one is a nurse. And these 2 characters, we kind of go back and forth throughout this issue, finding basically all of the troubles that they're going through, of just all of the bad luck that they're having in their lives, and just this story takes place in Chicago, and there's a heat wave coming through in the spring, and a lot of that plays into their frustration. We see their relationships with their co-workers and their students, and other relationships with going on dates, and all of this stuff is kind of being set up to really get to know who these 2 characters are before we ever meet our Lucky Devils. Because the characters are on the cover, I feel it's safe to show this cool double splash page, so it's not giving anything away that we didn't already see on our cover, but an awesome way to bring in our 2 other main characters, our Lucky Devils, who have great names. They actually have name tags on, so if I remember them, Collar and Rake. Collar and Rake are two little nasty little devils here who basically introduce themselves to our human characters. From this point on, I'll show the cool title treatment because that's always fun. From this point on, I'm not going to talk or show anything beyond this book and give too much away because I think this is just an awesome start. If you like the books that I mentioned prior, then good chance you'll probably have some fun with this. But yeah, these characters, these devils show up and they talk about their involvement and their attachment, how they've been watching these people all of their lives and kind of give the explanation on why they're showing themselves, revealing themselves to these people, because these people are very good people. And these devils don't like that these people are good people because they have other ulterior motives to get their own personal job done. And yeah, this was an explosive first issue, great world building, awesome last pages stuff. I'm just going to look at it as I talk about it. Yeah, double splash page for a finale of this issue. I think would really get you excited for coming back for the next 8. The artwork, Ryan Brown, just if you've seen any of his work in those books, you know what you're getting with this. He has a lot of freedom to draw what he wants to draw and draw big things and monsters and demons and just the other thing I love about his artwork is when he puts in all of the little Easter eggs, like he's one of those artists where you just have to like read everything in the background, a magazine rack and a grocery store shelf. And, even if there might be the slightest a joke in there, sometimes there's not, but you have to keep reading because you're going to find find a little gem in there somewhere. If you are fans of God Hates Astronauts and Curse Words and 8 Billion Genies, there are some fun, deep, hidden Easter eggs when it comes to the art there. So you get so much value out of this book, not only with the great world building and the writing of Charles Soule, but everything that Ryan Brown does to bring us these stories to life. And there's just so much fun. And an example, it's not like it's going to be a gut buster or anything like that, but to give you an example of a detail on the TV, they're watching TV, and the show they're watching is just called The Bang Big Theory. So it's things like that, where it's just like throwing in little humor here and there, and for legal purposes, not writing what the show actually is, but they're watching The Bang Big Theory. But yeah, this book is a ton of fun. Cool art on the back too of our devils, so I'll show that off as well. So yep, if you're a fan of any of that stuff I mentioned, this is an excellent start to a brand new miniseries from Silent E Productions, because both Soule and Brown have an E at the end of their name. So that is The Lucky Devils, issue number 1. Kirby?
Yeah, I assumed it was going to eventually somehow tie in with 8 Billion Genies just because they did the cover A is the same style-wise. So I thought maybe, but who knows?
There's still room to improve on there, so I'm curious to see how it'll play out. So
I could see some little devils messing with people's minds while they're trying to choose what they want the genies to give them. But
yeah.
All right, this one I picked last minute, and now that I look at it, I'm like thinking that maybe Katie or Jim might have reviewed it before, but this is Batman Fortnite, Zeropoint number 1. And this is Christos Cage was the writer, pencils by Riley Brown, inks by Nelson Faro de Castro, and colors by John Calise, and letters by Andworld Design. This cover was Mike Janin. There is a rip in reality itself, and people of Gotham are running towards it. Batman tries to stop Harley Quinn from jumping through the rip in time, but is too late and gets accidentally sent after her. Batman finds himself in a world of strange and psychotic people and has lost the ability to talk and uses his detective powers to try and understand all the chaos happening around him. While a storm closes in, Batman and what seems everyone else has also lost some of their memories. They did a fun play on Fortnite. I only played it in the early stages, because I hate that you get all these different weapons and all these building abilities and all this stuff. But games like that, for some reason, don't have a non-live version that you can practice in at least. So you can get your controls down, so you can run around and whip things out faster. You got to keep playing, and then you're just getting whooped left and right. But yeah, I love the artwork in here. I love the character, what they did with the characters and the characters they brought in from the different levels of Fortnite throughout the ages. I like how they did with Batman's voice, because I'm like, I first seen this, I'm like, well, this has to be a quick read because nobody talks during the game. So I like how they gave him his background thoughts, and then you got to see how they couldn't talk at all. You don't really get to see anybody die, but if you play the game, you got to kill the people off. And the last one standing when the world closes in on you, you're the winner if you can make it that far. But it was an interesting way they did it and how they played out, and gave you that game time feel along with the Batman storyline stylized layout with it. But yeah, we also get Catwoman in here, Harley Quinn, and then a variety of characters from the Fortnite games. So I enjoyed it. I do want to read some more because I want to find out what happened to our characters at the end of this one. I also want to find out, hopefully learn why Batman ended up into the rip in time. I don't want to give away what happened, how he got into it, but yeah. And I'd like to know where Harley went and what's up with her also. So I'm guessing it's going to be laid out like the game, and they're just going to keep repopping in, and we'll see what happens. But it was fun. I'm glad I picked it up.
Cool. Excellent. We are going to jump over to Katie. What you got for us?
Okay, this week I am bringing Disney Villains Hades. This is published by Dynamite Comics. It's written by Elliot Callan. The art is by Alessandro Rinaldi. And our colorist is Deirbla Kelly, and the letterer is Jeff Eckelberry. Okay, so this was, I think, the first in the kind of Dynamite series with Disney villains, focusing on so far characters from the Disney Renaissance. Hades is kind of bored one day in hell, and his regular minions, Pain and Panic, are being not great at their job. So he calls up the Fates, the three sisters of the Fates, and asks them for a prophecy. And they locate the golden fleece of Colchis, wool of the winged ram Chrysomelos, who rescued Prixis and was gifted to King Attis, and on and on and on. And Hades decides that, well, since the gods did not invite him to their weekly god brunch, he's going to try and go after this fleece so that he can remake the world in his image. But he needs better henchmen. So first he approaches Medusa, and she's got kind of a rough life. Every time she wants to try and make a friend or get a pet, they look at her and they turn to stone. But then she's like, Hades, come on, every time you come here, you show up asking for something, and it always leads to trouble. And he's like, well, no, I would never do that, except actually, you're right, I would do that. So can you just help me out here? And she's like, no, absolutely not. Get out of my house. So then he goes and he is bothering Arachne. Arachne was a young woman who got into a weaving battle with the goddess Athena and lost. And Athena was mad about that, so she turned Arachne into the greatest weaver of all time, a silk spider with a woman's head. So now Arachne is trapped in this chimera body, and Hades is putting together this like ancient Greek kind of okay Avengers team. So he gets Arachne and promises to fix her and turn her back into a person, or at least get rid of her spider body. Then he is approaching Orpheus, who is still mourning the loss of his girlfriend Eurydice. He is a bard and a poet, but he's not that great at it. And Hades says, well, if you help me, I will reunite you with your lost love. What else? Then he picks up Icarus, who is currently in the Hell's Chariots gang. Icarus, of course, got kicked out of the family for making wings out of wax and flying too close to the sun, but he still wants to fly high. And now we have this team put together. But it turns out that Jason of Jason and the Argonauts fame is also going after the Golden Fleece. And Jason and his band of dude bros on their boat are now in a race against Hades to try and find this fleece. Each side picks up a couple more sidekicks. They reach the island where the fleece is said to be located, which is, of course, guarded by many traps and monsters. Hades and Jason have kind of a face-off by a series of tests of strength to determine who has the right to go after the fleece. Hades kind of cheats, and he does get the fleece. Unfortunately, Icarus passes away because Medusa shows up, because she's like, nah, Hades is not going to mess with people again. So she hits Icarus with her eyesight, which turns people into stone. And Hades kind of flies away, and it turns out he has cheated all of these people out of what he promised them. So they were very disappointed by that. And then the final issue is our new henchmen now team up with Medusa to get the fleece back from Hades and get him to change them back to how they were and to fulfill their promises. Meanwhile, Hades goes up to Mount Olympus and turns all of the gods into items of furniture using the Golden Fleece. But our heroes win throughout the day. Hades is sent back down to hell, where there is a very long line of souls waiting to get in to the underworld. The gods are now turned back to their original form, and Zeus grants everyone the boons that Hades promised them. And then we have the Fates kind of looking on and laughing, and well, since they can see the future, they're talking about everything that comes next in human history. I had such a fun time reading this book. I grabbed the trade paperback from the library. It has a lot of great meta humor, certainly a really great Disney villain that I know quite well. I feel like this is all ages, like anyone could read this. However, if it pains me to say this, the Hercules movie came out almost 30 years ago. I don't know how relevant this would be to kids today who haven't seen the movie or don't have a lot of attachments to it. I don't know how funny they would find this. A lot of the humor of it comes from, having watched that movie many times and understanding Hades as a villain and his very snarky humor and attitude. But I do think this is all ages, but there's definitely some jokes that are kind of meta. They're not dirty. They're just, read it and see what I mean. They're very Hades humor specific. I liked this a lot. I know there's a volume out with Scar from The Lion King, so I would definitely like to check that out as well. But this was super fun. I'm really glad I got this trade. This was Disney Villains Hades in partnership with Dynamite Comics and Disney Publishing. Check it out.
Yeah, I had read the Scar book and the Cruella de Vil ones, and I really enjoyed.
Oh, cool.
I thought they were doing a pretty good job with that Disney Villains line over at Dynamite there. So good to see that this seems like a nice addition too. But yeah, that it's a good observation on whether or not how relevant it is, just because of the character.
Yeah, I loved it as a millennial Disney adult, and I really feel like that's who this is written for. But you could still definitely share it with your kids. There was nothing inappropriate. It's all very PG. It's just Hades has a certain tone. Yeah, but I liked it, and I'm glad you have read and enjoyed the Scar and Cruella books too.
Cool. All right.
Katie.
Yes. Yeah.
Somebody who has not seen the Disney Hercules movie but does know basic Greek mythology, how would they enjoy it?
I think you'd still probably get a lot out of it because you do know the characters from the myths and their stories and why they reacted the way they did. This is a very comic take on all of that, but I think it would be worth checking out. I would say it's a 50-50 chance if you'll like it or not, but okay. I think it was pretty fun.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Jim, you got something extra special to show off in this round. What you got there?
I did a little rearranging of bookshelves and stuff in recently, and I came across something that I had read decades ago that I got from my dad. This is Good Old Charlie Brown by Charles M. Schultz. Holt, Reinhardt, and Winston Incorporated Publishers. This actual book was the 17th printing from January 1967. So this book is about 6 months older than I am. And it collects comic strips from 1955, 56, and 57. So, and that's exactly what I was, just strip after strip. And it's just some of it, the context is a little bit dated. You can absolutely tell it. Some of it, like as the Peanuts strips kept going, the context would get a little bit more modern. And some of this is just, unless you're familiar with the society from the 50s, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, and it's just, looking through it a little bit right now. It's just, yeah, it's really cute. It's really fun. I know I've read this, half dozen times, but like I said, it's been put on a shelf and forgot about for about 30 years. And I was excited to find it a couple weeks ago when I rearranged the bookshelves and brought it out. And it's like, yeah, this is really, cute. One of the things I find kind of funny is when they draw Snoopy walking on all fours, where in more modern stuff, we're used to see him walking on his back feet only. Or just sitting on this doghouse.
Yeah, he is very much still dog-like in those original.
Yeah. So that's kind of, it's really cute. In the very first, it's a good old Charlie Brown. The very first panel is Charlie walking past a couple of girls. They say, "Hi, Charlie Brown." "Hi, girls." He walks past, and one of the girls says, "Good old Charlie Brown." And he said, "Oh, gee, I heard one of them say, 'Good old Charlie Brown.' Maybe those girls don't think I'm so bad after all." And then the other girl says, good old wishy-washy Charlie Brown."
Yeah, so that's been a theme that they've been playing on since the very first panel of kind of having that judgment of Charlie Brown walking by. And I've been rereading, well, not rereading, I guess, because I haven't read all those original comics when they came out or anything. But getting the collections of those early strips, I've been casually going through the Peanut strips, and it is funny to see the Snoopy design and just how it's adorable, just how very small and kid-like these kids are. Just like sometimes just kind of like babies in a way, of just the way their mannerisms are and the way they're sitting and stuff like that. And just, so it's interesting to see them slightly age into a more like what they would then constantly be for decades. But
this one is cute. Linus going out to the clothesline to be with his blanket because mommy was washing it today.
Yep, just I think that's a very good thing to do, just not leave that blanket out there by itself. And it's good to show it, for all that comfort that blanket has brung. It's great to then give that blanket comfort, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was cool. That was awesome that it's you uncovered that treasure there and can revisit it. Speaking of uncovering treasures and revisiting it, that's a great segue into my next pick here to kick off our second round. I will try to keep this short, but we had big news hit the internet at the time of this recording this week, where it was reported that a bunch of talented people and Oscar-winning creators and producers and directors were working with Hulu to set up a brand new pilot for a reboot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with none other than Sarah Michelle Gellar as the lead, reprising the character of Buffy. That news hit the internet. Emma Caulfield, who played Anya in the show, shared the news, But then we went a couple days without hearing from Sarah herself. She had made her statement saying, okay, yep, I'm here to address it and address how many years we've been working on trying to do this and do it right. And she doesn't want to do it if it's not going to be the best that it can possibly be. She's working with some awesome people to get this going, to try to get a pilot going for Hulu, and basically continue the adventures of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So that got me extra excited, being a Buffy fan since the beginning, which includes the original movie. For over 30 years, this character's been around. Once the TV show iteration started in 97, it was only into the next season and to the next year when they started to do comic books for the character. And that's why it's relevant for me bringing it to this very comic club, because I dusted off an old copy of the first issue of Buffy the Vampire Slayer from 1998 from the Dark Horse Comics, and with the success of the television show and the licensing with this here, and working with Fox and all the people over there, even with Sarah Michelle Gellar reading some of the back matter in here and having her looking and approving the artist, and trying to make sure that they're putting out a good product. This is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, issue number 1 from 1998. Let me get the synopsis here. All right. Buffy Summers is not like other girls. She's been chosen to save the world from the vampire plague, and balancing saving the world with high school is no easy task. Presenting all new adventures of everybody's favorite Slayer. This comic is done by Andy Watson, Joe Bennett, Rick Ketchum, and Janice Chang. And this is colored by The Guy. That's what it's credited as. That I had to look. I want to research who The Guy is, but it's literally colors by The Guy. So, I have every issue of Buffy comics that have come out, which includes, the new iterations of Dark Horse Comics following the seasons of the show, including the Boom Studios reboot and all the new spin-offs, and we've talked about Buffy the Last Vampire Slayer and all that stuff. But this is going back to when the television show was actually airing. These stories take place, basically treat them as lost episodes of the television show. They work around the continuity of the show, kind of in between. If I remember correctly, I don't think there was anything crucial. They didn't work hand in hand in that sense of, whatever happened in the book is going to happen on the TV show next week or something. But I think from what I remember, at least with this first issue that I revisited, we jump into basically in season 2. They would eventually do I think a 3-issue miniseries, which I'm guessing probably adapts either the movie or like the first season or something. I'm going to read that once it comes into the publication line, because with the announcement of the possible reboot television show, I told myself that I'm going to reread an issue of Buffy every single day that includes all of these 90s and early 2000s comics, and then everything after. And I'm just going to be celebrating Buffy all year long and crossing the fingers that we get to see our characters return on the screen. This story is a lost story about like an ancient like kung fu vampire. We are thrust right into the world of Buffy being a vampire slayer, showing off some of the art from the late 90s issue here. All of our characters are very recognizable when we have Buffy, Willow, and Xander. I think they do a good job for a comic book form of, not doing, kind of trying to be as close as they can without, I guess, I don't know if there's likeness rights and stuff like that. So they probably do a version of it where it's like, yep, it's recognizable. But, and we just jump right into it. We if this is your first ever issue, you just get the idea like, yep, she's a vampire slayer. You don't get a lot of the lore of her being called or anything like that. You are just kind of thrust into this world. Eventually, they would do that with the Chosen miniseries for anybody who maybe had no idea what the show was, but picked up a vampire book off the stands. But yeah, this is going through and it introduces this cool kung fu ancient vampire, this mysterious character throughout the issue. We have Xander, who is actually coincidentally taking some karate classes. And so he's in karate class because he doesn't feel like he brings enough to the Scooby Gang table. And so he's kind of hiding that from the gang. And he's kind of showing up with bruises and stuff like that. And but Buffy is going through trying to keep this There's some other mysteries going on that she's keeping from Giles. She just wants to have a normal high school life. A lot of the same stuff that you would get from the television show, but it is done in such a cool way where you just get all new stories and characters when it comes to the our bad guys and such. So I'm very much looking forward to rereading all of these issues. It has been quite some time since I have read these. I'll show a cool image here of one of our demon vampire characters here, and yeah, this is a lot of fun. I think the humor, the jokes, everything feels like it holds up pretty well. There was nothing that was too dated. If you watch the show, you'll get that certain lingo or like technology, things like that. But I think this one still felt very felt like a good modern read, I guess. So I thought this was really well done, and it was fun to revisit. So this is Buffy the Vampire Slayer #1 from 1998. And since I'm going to revisit an issue a day, when we come up to the comic club, if I have an interesting issue to talk about, this won't be the last time I'll be bringing more old Buffy comics to the table. There it is. These are probably available.
Anthony,
Yes.
is that a photo cover or just a really good drawing?
Yeah, so this is a photo cover. These early, I don't know, they might have done it throughout the whole series, but I think they had
Yeah, they did.
art cover and a photo cover. So for somebody who, these are just whatever I got my hands on. I know in my collection I might have almost all of them. I don't have all of them, but there are many of them that I have both the art cover and the photo cover. But yep, that's just a photograph. But yeah, these are also, I know they made omnibuses of these. I don't know how available they are, but I would assume that these comics are probably fairly cheap to find too. But anyways, I'm excited to talk about Buffy more and more in 2025. Kirby?
I got Evilman #1.
Hmm.
This is from 1997. This is Tentacles, Toasters, and Terror Part 1. Moving Day by Bill Haller. Got an interesting picture of Evilman on the back of here. Evil sketch. But he is an alien form creature. Very interesting. But there is a darkness between dimensions, blacker than the blackness of the blackest black thing, sitting off to the side in a dark corner. A blackness that was ancient when the universe was fairly new, only partly used anyway. It still had that new universe smell. Deep in the heart of the darkness, an anamorphous sentience heaves, and a ripple passes along the fleshly barrier between this reality and the yawning abyss. And things are somehow different than they were before. It's basically black and white artwork throughout. And you get your darker zones and then your lighter zones just showing where these characters are. Our character starts out as back in the days when people would run home to catch their favorite TV show. A professor gets lost in a place of chaotic household foods and items he uses to reach the light of day and the end of chaos, only to find anything but what he was searching for. Being that is bored is never good when they have access to things that can destroy. Meanwhile, evil forces are trying to break down the barrier that keeps them from Evilman. Evilman is busy searching for a new place to live. He finds a place so interesting, tentacles start popping out of some of his orifices. But yeah, our character, I am going to spoil some stuff because this was so long ago, but he's in this dark area and there's like giant pickles, posters, all this stuff. So you realize that he's miniaturized form compared to everything in this world. And he sees a light and climbs a pile of that stuff to get out. And when he does, he finds himself on Evilman's belly button and gets squashed like a bug. So then it goes into the Evilman's world. We find out more about that going on. And he's just bored with life. So he has this bomb he built in his apartment, and he basically heads out and hits the button, and the bomb goes off and destroys everything. He goes off until he finds this weird, strange tower that just happens to be up for sale, and he comes across the landlord, which is kind of an evil person himself. And this character here keeps telling him, "You do not want to buy this place. There's like curses on it. There's hauntings, all this." The person that was kind of like a scientist type character that built the building, he basically passed away, and all his stuff is still in there. There's all kinds of concoctions and little scientific experiments going on. And it's like you walk in, all Evilman cares about is that it has a good bathroom. He opens the bathroom door and sees it's a portal type area that takes him into some weird, strange place. But then the landlord opens the door and because he's like, "There's no bathroom in here." And the landlord opens the door and it's a normal bathroom. So it's like there's all kinds of fun things that can happen in here. You only get a little teaser of it. And and then when he's talking to the landlord is when a tentacle pops out of his belly button and kind of like is a warning to not buy the place, but he decides to buy it anyways. But yeah, this is fun. It's an ongoing series apparently that I'm gonna have to find out more about. The editor was Beelzebub. But you get belly button activities in the back. You get lots of pinups that they throw out here. Here's one with a bunch of tentacles coming out of its head. But yeah, they have lots of different pinups throughout the back of it. They're fun. A lot of different artists did them, it looks like. But yeah, I came across this at a claim sale. I'm like, Evilman, it's number one. I got to get it and check it out. Yeah, really glad I did. And now I got to find more of these and see how far they went with it. But just starting out right off the bat with it, you think this guy's your main character, and he comes out into the light and then just gets squashed like a bug. It's great book.
Excellent. Well, that is going to do it then for the weekly reviews as well as this episode. So thank you everybody for checking it out. We're going to go through the plugs real quick here. CrimsonCowl.com for info and original webcomics. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on iTunes. Subscribe, rate, and review for the audio version. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on YouTube. That'll be the full video experience, the preferred way to experience the comic club, if you ask me. Kirby has the spin-off podcast Under the Cowl of MS. Would you like to talk about what's going on over there?
Kind of in a lull right now, but I am still doing a Thursday show, and I'm hoping to get back to my single reviews at least here pretty quick. But yeah, everything's kind of on hiatus. But if you catch any of the live shows and stuff, they talk about my 250th giveaway coming up and stuff. So I am going to be doing a lot of unpackings of those because I got a stack of stuff to unpack that was mostly stuff bought for that giveaway itself. So if you want to get a chance to win something, subscribe, like, and check out Under the Cowl of MS. And when I hit 250, we're going to do a fun, at least a 5-box giveaway. So.
Very cool. Check that out. Yes, so follow Under the Cowl of MS wherever you get your podcasts and social media, and especially over here on YouTube. Let's see here. I have some art accounts at Anthony Laatsch, Laatsch, over on Instagram and Facebook. Check out some art posts. You'll notice that maybe there hasn't been as many daily posts because when that happens, it means I'm working on stuff behind the scenes, and all I'll tease right now is that there's something in the mail coming very shortly that I'm very excited to show off in our next episode. So follow my social media for more information on that. I'm also part of Cartoonist by Night, the drawing show over on YouTube. At the time of this recording, we just had a brand new episode recording with Eric Marshall and Natsuki, some of our creators from Jungle Drama, the new issue of Salty Beaches. They also had some work with the first Jungle Drama as well, but we brought them on to Cartoonist by Night to talk about the comic strip character, the Phantom. So we talk about the Phantom, we draw the Phantom, we learn a lot about Eric and Nat, and it was a super fun show. And follow Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube, and that episode will be out shortly. These episodes will come out pretty close to each other, but if you follow them, then you don't have to worry about seeking them out. They'll just show up in your feed, and you got to watch it. All right, so check out Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube as well. And I think that is it for the main plugs. As I said at the top of the show, I will show the graphic here again. But coming up very shortly is Milwaukee Comic Con, Saturday, February 22nd, 2025. Myself and David will be there representing Crimson Cowl Media. I'll be selling my first self-published comic book, which is called Race Christopher, the Wednesday afternoon special. I had to hesitate there because I'm used to saying another subtitle for maybe another something that's coming out. But I'll have this comic as well as something else. And David's got his comic for Tales from the North, The Dungeon. We have original art. We've got prints. We've got little doodles and sketches and bookmarks. And I got some stickers and a lot of fun stuff over there. So come out and hang out at Milwaukee Comic Con. There's some good celebrity guests there. They usually get some Power Rangers guests if you're fans of them. I'm fairly certain Eric from the club here is going to be showing up for that. Yeah, it's always a lot of fun. So check out Milwaukee Comic Con Saturday, February 22nd, and it's a good time. So that will do it for those plugs, and close that out. And that will do it for this episode. Please tell a friend about it if you like what's going on here. Share it, put it into the feed, let other people know what is going on over here, and then we can keep doing it again and again and again. This whole time, I've been a Bayou bloodsucker.
I've been picking Batwolf Flint out of my belly button.
I've been flying too close to the sun with wax wings.
I'm waiting for Satan to take a dump so I can clean it up.
To be continued.